Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be white knights, red flags, and women with many male orbiters. Well, I got three different emails I'm going to go through with you today, and they all kind of have a similar issue. A lot of these emails really around vetting because there's a lot of guys that don't vet properly. I mean, all you got to do is take a trip through the dysfunctional red pill community, or I should say the red pill cult. And the majority of problems that those guys have is they just suck at vetting and they're still pissed off about it. And so they point the finger and blame all modern women, and hypergamy doesn't care, and all those other useless platitudes that are not going to really help you do better in the future. And I'm sure some of the red pill cult members will be in the mentions complaining and, oh, you don't understand red pill, coach. It's like, yeah, I do. I understand that the overwhelming majority of their influence is negative and is not helping dudes. I've had countless people, especially over about the last year and a half, 2 years, as it's really taken prominence. Guys that were doing well with my work, they got into the red pill and their success just went to nothing. Got to the point where women just basically hated them. And all you have to do is look at these guys on some of these viral clips that are on Instagram, and it's pretty obvious that women don't like these dudes very much, but yet they make for some great sound bites. Because, I mean, Jerry Springer just passed away a few weeks ago, and that type of trash TV, it's entertaining, dysfunctional, but what's it really doing to help people have better quality of life and better quality relationships? So I look forward to all the crying red pill guys, the cult members crying in the comments, insulting me. That'll be fun. Makes you guys easy to block and get out of here because you're kind of beyond redemption and hope, a lot of them. So with that said, let's go to the first guy's email. He says, "Dear Coach Corey Wayne, I hope this finds you well. My name is Bob, a 26-year-old individual who is currently facing a rather complex romantic situation. I have recently become involved with a woman who happens to be married for 4 years, despite her young age of 23. So this guy is obviously a white knight. Seen too many Disney movies, Captain Save-A-Ho to the rescue. You get the idea. It appears that her marriage has hit a rough patch, but the good news is he's here to save her from her rough patch marriage, leading to discussions about a potential divorce." He's very clinical in the way he describes this. "Over the past month, we have been engaging in an intimate relationship, mainly driven by her appreciation for my self-assuredness and confidence. But at the end of the day, dude, you're her side piece. You're trying to rip off some other guy's girl who is willingly cheating and lying to him. And if you think she's going to be loyal and faithful to you, you're as delusional as the dudes in the red pill community. It's important to note that she has been..." Oh, this is beautiful. "It's important to note that she has been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, BPD." Oh, it's a little bit of a Fruit Loop. Okay. Sounds great. Gonna be Mr. White Knight, Captain Save-A-Ho. Save this woman with BPD from her bad marriage, while ignoring the fact that she has no integrity and she's a liar and a cheater. It is totally delusional to think that she's going to be loyal and faithful to you when she wasn't loyal and faithful to her husband, and probably hasn't been loyal and faithful to anybody she's ever been with. Despite this relatively short duration of our involvement, she has gradually expressed her thoughts on love and relationships. Oh, how nice. However, I have chosen to adopt a go-with-the-flow approach. During this time, I have noticed that she maintains conversations with other men. I'm shocked. I can't believe it. Other men besides you? You mean she's not only disloyal to her husband, but she's disloyal to you? Huh. What a shock. I just can't believe it. What an enigma. Although she openly discusses matters of love and relationships with me. Whew. Well, that makes up for it, apparently. We had good sex. She told me I was much better than the rest of the men she was with. Aha! You're the number one side piece. All right. Congratulations, guy. Recently, I have sensed a shift in her behavior as she seems somewhat distant and less engaged. Probably as you've started to pedestalize her, because I do not think you've read 3% Man and you do not know what's going on. So as she's backed off, you've pursued more, which is driving her quicker into the arms of other men, which quite frankly would be a good thing because she belongs to the streets. You don't try to turn a hoe into a housewife, dude. Trying to rip off some other guy's wife while she's sleeping with you and sleeping with other guys and thinking, ooh, I hope she chooses me. Bad way to go. This is a guy, it's in a scarcity mindset. High value guys just simply are not going to get involved with this. They don't mess with this. It's just not worth your time. You want to see what a high value lady is like? You can go to Instagram. The videos are starting to come out now on YouTube, but Katie was here, my English girlfriend, who you guys all have heard about for those of you that read the book. She was here about a month and a half ago, and we filmed over 2 or 3 days, answered a bunch of questions that you guys sent in that you wanted to ask me and her. And so there's a bunch of short reels that are now posted to Instagram, and they're slowly making their way to the rest of my social media accounts. But if you want to check out some of those, go to my Instagram at Coach Corey Wayne and check those out. You'll see from the horse's mouth, even 16, 17 years since we were together, still thinks very highly of yours truly because, of course, I'm awesome. And you can hear from her yourself. You can make up your own damn mind. And yeah, she's as amazing in person as I wrote about in the book. So given these circumstances, I seek your guidance on how to navigate this situation effectively. Well, if you're a glutton for punishment and you want to keep hooking up with her and the thirst is real, I would never call her or text her for any reason. When she reaches out, invite her over to your place. I wouldn't be going out on dates with a woman who's married because you never know who you're going to accidentally run into out in public. But if you want to live dangerously, then I would just have her come to your place, hang out, have fun, and hook up. And she can stay the night or she can leave. Probably, I guess she's going to leave if she's going home to her husband. But other than that, I would not get involved with her. And I would definitely wear a raincoat because you obviously ain't like the guys, who was it? Dennis Rodman, I think. He was talking about Madonna. He was like, I wasn't the first guy that was in there. He says, I would greatly appreciate your professional insight and advice on how to best address and handle the challenges presented by our condition and the changing dynamics of our relationship. Well, you got to read 3% Man. You're not going to be successful cherry picking and trying to rip off some other guy's wife, dude. Come on, man. Do better. You got to step up your game, homie. Let's go to the second guy's email. Hey, Coach. I have just purchased 3% Man, and I'm ready to be enlightened by your knowledge. Well, congratulations. Please help me out with this one. I have a question about a girl I have started dating. We have been out around 12 times over a period of around 2 months, and I'm unsure if I'm becoming blind to the red flags. Well, more than likely, if you have to ask, the answer is probably yes. Especially if you know yourself and you know your past, and you've tended to do that. If she is for the streets or if I'm slipping back into insecure and needy behavior. I'd say probably a little bit of all of those. She's a single mom. Oh, that'll drive the red pill guys nuts. Don't date single moms. You'll never be a priority. Well, if she's in love with you, you'll be a priority. But most of those guys are autistic dunces and they don't know how to attract and keep a woman interested in them. So there's a lot of cope going on there. But I digress. She's a single mom, works in a bar and a nightclub. Oh, those are just delightful. I'm sure she'll be loyal and faithful to you. And has varied hours. I have to be real accommodating to her schedule. Sometimes she works till 2 or 3 a.m., and I fear she may bring people home after work. Really? That would be shocking. She openly talks to other dudes. Well, if you're supposedly dating her for 2 months and she's constantly talking to other dudes, you're just one of the guys. There are women that you hook up with, that you sleep with, that are sex playmates, fuck buddies. I was hanging out with one of my best friends from high school, and we were taking a trip down memory lane of some of the girls in our class. Now, keep in mind, this was Cardinal Gibbons High School, where the creme de la creme of Florida. I love Cardinal Gibbons. It's a great school. If your kids can get in there, I would highly recommend sending them there because there's a lot of cool people there. There's a high concentration of the kids of very wealthy, successful people, and you are who you associate with. And so one of the things that's great about going to a school like Gibbons or other private schools is the social network, is the people that you meet there. We get to go to school with very successful people, and if you're like a middle class guy like myself, I mean, I wrote about this in Mastering Yourself. I remember when I was in sophomore in high school, and I walked into my friend's. He lived with his uncle, and in his mansion's overlooking the intercoastal. I'd never been in a house so big. I was like, I only saw stuff like that on TV, and so being there and hanging out with him and his family and my other friends that we went to school with, that's where the wheels started turning. Where I started thinking, I could do this. I could have a house like this. I could be successful like this one day because I was there, because I got to experience it. However, my friend and I, we were talking about one of the girls who was really beautiful back in high school. She was a cheerleader. We all still love her to this day, but she was kind of a hoe back then. And we were talking about how one time my buddy had gone out on a date with her, but just the week before, she had been taking it doggy style from another one of our friends while she was sucking the dick of another friend of ours, all at the same time. Now keep in mind, this might have been junior year. So she would have been 17 years old. So she slept with a lot of dudes junior and senior year. And she was beautiful and she was cool as hell. We all loved her to death. We had a lot of fun. Cool chick. But where is she now? She's married. She's with her second husband. They're pretty happy. But they're both extremely overweight and unhealthy. But we still love them. And so she slept around. And that was just one of the girls. It's like there was another girl we were talking about who's an absolute smoke show. And she just like slept with half the school. I think it was St. Thomas was another one. It was like, she had a lot of bodies. I think she had probably 50 bodies by the time she graduated high school or more. This girl, you would never know. She looked innocent. She looked cute in her little Catholic school girl outfit. We were in high school, and she was sleeping around left and right, and her parents were extremely wealthy. They were still together, but for whatever reason, whatever the dynamic was going on in there, she was a freak, and she was getting busy. My friend and I, what we were talking about is, even though we love these girls, we grew up with them, we've known them our whole lives, we were smart enough back then to know and understand that these are hookup girls. These are not girls that you wife up for obvious reasons. It's common sense, or at least we thought it was common sense back then, but you got these red pill autistic morons that's all they do on their channels is have OnlyFans girls and strippers and sex workers on there, and they present it to the world. This is modern women. It's like these type of girls have always been around, so you have to be able to understand who's the good family-oriented girls. But even then, even the good family-oriented girls, they weren't sleeping with like one or two guys and then get married and spend the rest of their life with their husbands. Especially when they go off to college, they join a sorority. Even when they had a few boyfriends, it's pretty easy for a hot girl to stack a bunch of bodies in a very short period of time. And it happens. It's kind of like a rite of passage. And so for these dunces that think they're going to marry some virgin or a girl that's only slept with one or two boyfriends, it's like, even back then, that was rare. So, but like I said, these guys are getting a lot of views these days, and they're getting pushed a lot, but it's a false representation of what's really out there in the dating marketplace. But you got to look at character's destiny. So a girl that's sleeping around left and right, obviously she's got some issues. Doesn't matter if she comes from one of the wealthiest, most powerful families in town. Chicks are going to be chicks. You got to look at her character. What does she do? Not what she says, not the image she presents to the world and to her parents. Look at little Miss Innocent, beautiful little Catholic school girl, totally innocent, but yet slept with over 50 dudes before she even graduated high school. And this is going back to the 80s, so these things were happening then. And yet, on paper, that shouldn't be happening, but it did. It does. It still does. And it always will. But you don't wife up a girl like that. You don't wife up a girl that cheats on or is sleeping around or giving one guy the impression that she wants to be his girlfriend while the weekend before she's getting reamed out by 3 different dudes. So, anyways, I digress. I hope y'all enjoyed the little sidebar there. She openly talks to other dudes and singers from her club and confirms they are friends. I'm not a fucking idiot to the logistics of male orbiters. Good job. She's also a very sexual person, has openly admitted various sexual partners and how vanilla sex doesn't cut it anymore. This is a fuck buddy. This is like the girls from high school. Again, I love the hell out of them, but you don't wife these girls. If that's what you're looking for, to wife them up, have a family, it's like, no. No. And the one I was telling you about that was getting, was sucking one guy's dick while she was taking it doggy style from another friend of mine. She had several kids. Actually, from her first marriage, or her first husband. They're all grown up now. And we still hang out, and we drink, and we get together, and we have a good time, and we reminisce about high school memories. But, again, I personally wouldn't marry her. And my buddy, even though he dated her, when he found out what she was doing the week before they went out on a date and hooked up, he was like, it totally changed his perception, but you learn these things. And he was smart enough, and he was enough of a stud to go, I'll find somebody else. He's like, he didn't want to be dating a girl that had that kind of a reputation. But man, it sure was fun to hook up with her, high five your friends, tell good stories. And then 30-something years later, I can share it with you guys. She has a history of living abroad over summers in Europe and had no father figure in her life. She used to live a party lifestyle before having no choice to settle with a child and constantly asks if I'm fucking other people. Now, why would she constantly ask that? Because that's what she's doing. No one will ever do or say anything to you that isn't a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves in a moment. And oftentimes these women expect you to be loyal and faithful to them while they're really not that. But deep down, they assume everybody's the same way. But when you see this behavior, you got to be rational like my buddy was. Even back in high school, we were 17, 18 years old. He understood this crap, even though he was participating and banging a bunch of girls. And sophomore, junior, senior year, even he lost his virginity back in middle school. And he's been with the same woman for many decades. But he knew back then he didn't want a girl that was a cum dumpster. He didn't want a girl that slept with half the class because you're going to get ripped about it from your friends. We all would have ripped them about it. But, I mean, at the end of the day, a young guy like that understood that. And here's a guy that's obviously an adult who's much older than we were back then. And yet the wheels are turning going, I think I can work with this. I think I can fix this girl. When she would disappear after her shifts, I would wrongly implement the no contact rule for a few days. And she would kick up a fuss, accusing me that I'm fucking other people. Because she was fucking other people. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're following what the book teaches, you make one date a week. You hang out, you have fun, you hook up. Once she starts reaching out to you, your pursuit is done. You just set dates. But if you know she's a hoe, you wear a raincoat and you have fun with her until you meet somebody you really like. It's pretty simple. Don't try to turn a hoe into a housewife. Me and my friends, we didn't do those things back then. And a lot of guys, especially the dudes in the red pill community, that's a problem they have. And they're still bitter and pissed off about it. But as Don Shula said, the late great Don Shula, strong men blame themselves, weak men blame others. And any guy that's blaming women or modern women, it's just somebody you don't want to listen to because they're a dunce warrior and they're an amateur. Simple as that. She recently asked me if I was seeing other people and where we stood whilst, this guy must be from the UK, almost hinting at wanting more. But when I asked what she was looking for, it sounded like a situationship, commitment without the exclusivity. She wants you to be committed to her while she continues to go fuck the whole football team. Like one of my female friends from high school. Still love her. She's awesome. Love hanging out with her. But that's a lot of bodies. Due to her job, she also mentioned that she was approached by an owner of, and keep in mind, this was just two girls we were talking about this past weekend we were hanging out. Hoping I'll get myself into trouble, which I probably will, and I'll hear about it. But that's okay. I'm used to the slings and the arrows. Due to her job, she also mentioned she was approached by an owner of a restaurant who was drinking in her bar and offered a job and that she was considering it. She mentioned they are talking on Facebook Messenger, and I personally think this dude is a shark. She mentioned she's agreed to meet him next week to discuss the job further. I'll bet. You can already tell it's like she's throwing the leg for whoever. She's a freak. She says, I don't like vanilla sex. You go, ding, ding, check, please. Fuck buddy, friends with benefits, sex playmate. That's it. These are the girls you hook up with. These are not the girls you marry or have a long-term relationship with or have kids with. It's pretty simple. How do you keep your center in the early stages of dating and not let the anxiety creep in with the red flags in front of you? Well, the red flags are telling you something and you are correct. You have been ignoring them. And I would, again, you're trying to turn a hoe into a housewife, bro. It's not going to work. Have fun. Enjoy it while it lasts. Make sure you wear your raincoat. How do you not allow these mail orders to not wave you off your center, especially if a dude has more money or resources to throw his weight around? Easy. Dare her to find somebody better. Dare her to run off with one of these guys. Be cool with it. Don't give a shit. That'll actually attract her more to you, even if the guy's got more money and resources. Because deep down, if you know there's no way in hell you would ever wife her up, you would never get into a relationship with her, and you let her know that, hey, it's just casual, I don't think of you that way, she'll try harder to keep you. And then it gets harder to leave her, but that's the right approach. That's the masculine approach. That's a centered and balanced approach. You're not going to try to give her the impression that you're going to want to be in a relationship with her, because then she'll really treat you like a doormat. There's always going to be a better option, but how do you remain the priority option? Easy. Like I said, dare to find somebody better. If I don't take you all the way, then go. But remember, good love is hard to find, like Tom Petty said. So let's go to our third and final email today. Hey, Corey, I've been reading 3% Man about 3 or 4 times so far, and I'm working on reading it more this summer. So I dated a girl for over a year, and the first year, she ended up having a lot of guy friends. Like my girlfriends from high school, I didn't sleep with them, I didn't partake. They had lots of male friends, and they were very friendly with benefits. Each weekend it was a new guy or 2 or 3 different dudes in a weekend. Like, it happens really fast. Girl in high school, it's pretty easy to graduate with 50 or 100 bodies. Even in the 80s, it was happening. It's not modern women. Women have always been this way. Character's destiny. But you got the red pill autistic morons out there brainwashing the incels and the sheep, and the guys don't know any better, because Jerry Springer type content really gets a lot of views. That's why this stuff always did well. And I think the first one was Morton Downey Jr. back in the 1980s. Rest in peace. He was a hilarious character as well. She ended up having a lot of guy friends who ended up not really being guy friends, obviously. And I found out because she showed up to a date once with hickeys and gaslit me to think they weren't. Yes. Yes. This is why it's important to have friends. And like my buddy we were talking about, he had other friends who were like, dude, she was just getting reamed out by so-and-so and his friend all at the same time. And he heard that and he was like, what? And then he went to these guys, because these guys were good friends of ours, and I love these dudes to death. They're great guys. I'd take a fucking bullet for any of them. But they're like, yeah, it was fun. We were all drinking. But nobody wifed her up. Well, somebody did. A couple of guys did. During this time, we were exclusive. Obviously, I knew this was a lie. During this time, I didn't read any of your work, and I took these signs very loosely and gave her faith, which obviously was a mistake. In the relationship, she had many guy friends who I knew were her previous guys that she slept with. I asked her to tell me the truth, and she denied it for a while. Obviously, she was a liar, yeah, and wanted her cake and to eat it too. I knew all the truth because I looked through her phone. I even caught her on Tinder, and her excuse was, oh, I thought we weren't dating and broken up at the time. Man. It's just the thing. Guys that don't know any better, they get themselves into situations like this. I can understand why they turn out and they're bitter and then they become red pill gurus, and all they do is crank out the same kind of content that everybody else is cranking out. Which obviously was not true, since she was inviting me over, telling me that she loved me. She'd also been verbally and physically abusive in the relationship. Sounds like fun. She's a real peach to date. Now, eventually, I couldn't take it anymore, and I finally got pushed enough to break things off. Well, good for you. You finally took your balls and your power back. Later on, about 2 months later, she came crying back and said she was sorry, and she's different now. No, she's not. She said that she had bad demons and that her past is not who she wanted to be or wants to be. Yeah, but if we bottom line her actions, well, that's who she is. Character's destiny. You are who you say you are. What really kept me, or I say, you are what you do, not what you say. What really kept me with this girl is our personalities really meshed, and I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt that she wasn't shady. She's shady, bro. But obviously my trust is gone. Yeah, and here's the whopper. Do you think people change? Can they? Yeah, they may become a better version of who they are. In other words, maybe they cheat less or they're better at hiding it, but this girl ain't gonna change. Now, these one girl in particular, the one who's very obese and slept around a lot in high school, she's, as far as I know, she's been loyal and faithful to her husband, but she's obese and so is he. So it's not like dudes are lining up to hook up with her like they were in high school when she was fit and hot and was a hot cheerleader. But I digress. So if she was fit and in shape, and she had lots of options, would she partake? Probably. But she's let herself go because deep down, we are physical reflections. Our bodies are a physical reflection of how we feel about ourselves. So, if somebody was sleeping around a lot back then and they've completely let themselves go now, well, now their outer world matches their inner world. Whereas when they're young and beautiful, everybody looks at the outer perception, their outer body, and they go, wow. But what's going on the inside is the lights are on, but nobody's home. She belongs to the streets. Can they? I know these women I shouldn't take seriously because humans are creatures of habit, and it seems from things I saw that she has this habit of lying, deleting messages, and other things on her phone. Well, I see it over and over. I've had a couple people that worked for me in the past year. You catch them in lies, and then you catch them in more lies. It's like they don't stop. It's just people don't change who they are. They may become a better version, but that is what it is. Even at 53, I still see it. Young and old, doesn't matter. If they're a ratchet when they're young, they're going to be a ratchet when they get older, typically. Doesn't mean you can't love them and appreciate them if you happen to know them, but you just don't get involved romantically because they're a drifter. Obviously, I can't take her seriously, and I know that if I jump in caring again, she's most likely going to cheat and be shady, even though she says she's not. Of course she will cheat. That's what she does. It's a scorpion the frog. It's just it's her nature. I guess her words are more like a fart in the wind. Perfect. You got it. Well, I hope you enjoyed those 3 long emails in my little diatribe about some high school memories that I visited with a dear friend this past week. And if you got a question or a challenge and you'd like to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.